Today's video is brought to you by our friends over at ExpressVPN, ladies and gentlemen. Do you connect to the internet without a VPN? Well, you probably should start using any type of VPN, and my go-to is ExpressVPN personally, because ladies and gentlemen, connecting to a public Wi-Fi network without any VPN service out there is just cause for concern. There's so much traffic being floated around, and all of this is ripe for any bad actor to be taking. So if I can just send my data through an encrypted tunnel, that would be better than nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the reasons why I use ExpressVPN is when it comes to streaming services on the internet, Netflix, Amazon, you know who you are. They have a lot of geo-restricted content, meaning that if I'm a Canadian, I can't watch content from the United States. But thankfully to ExpressVPN and their magical amount of servers all over the world, you can absolutely pretend to be from anywhere. The United States, the United Kingdom, Japan, South Korea. Heck, the world is your oyster. Within a matter of seconds, you can absolutely teleport to another point in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, if I want to pretend to be an American to watch that American Netflix, clicking the United States and ExpressVPN makes me teleport, and the streaming service is none the wiser. That's actually one of the many reasons that I use it. The others is generally to hide IP addresses from websites that I don't generally trust. I don't want them to know that I've connected to their systems. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, ExpressVPN is also reliable because of their trusted server technology, RAM-based servers that absolutely will protect you because they do not store caches on actual traditional hard drives. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to experience some of these protections like me, definitely check it out at expressvpn.com/SOG. You even get 3 months of ExpressVPN all for free. Ladies and gentlemen, that's www.expressvpn.com/SOG. Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and today's video is all about a global cyber attack that just happened. Now ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the largest global cyber attacks that we've seen in a while. And if you wonder why I didn't cover it immediately as soon as it happens, well that's because these situations develop and it's not as cut and dry as what it seems in like the first 12 hours. So to understand what's been going on is a lot of agencies have been hacked, okay? So for instance, in the United States, it appears that the Department of Energy was one of the many agencies that was impacted. There were 2 DOE entries that were compromised, and of course, that wasn't the only organization out there. There are other targeted agencies, but the government ain't listing them. You've also got other scenarios where other large key profile players have been hacked. So to give you an idea of the rousing crew of large organizations that have been hit, you've got Shell, the gas company, all right, not a small indie, group out there, not a small business, so to speak. You've got the BBC, the British Airways, Johns Hopkins University, the state of Minnesota. Oh man. Ladies and gentlemen, they've been attacked. Because, ladies and gentlemen, how so? Well, it all came down to a zero-day exploit, a vulnerability in a very commonly used application. You might notice in the last year, that's pretty common, Muda. It just seems to be the case. But let's get down to just what's been going on. So now that you know who's been attacked, let's get down to who's actually done the attack so far. Now, according to the government over here, the FBI and CISA put out a joint cybersecurity advisory about the Clop ransomware gang. Now, I know there's some bronies in the audience that are getting their, feathers all rustled, but no, it's not that. Clop is a gang out there that actually basically attacked a bunch of organizations using something known as a MoveIt vulnerability. MoveIt being the software, the vulnerability obviously being the second half of that whole point. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, they are also known as TA-505. For those of you who don't know TA-505, according to BlackBerry, yes, BlackBerry is a cybersecurity company now, not the phone manufacturer that your grandpa or dad used to have. TA-505 is a prolific financially motivated cybercrime group active since 2014 and a significant player in the global cybercrime scene. TA-505 has taken many different roles, including as both a ransomware as a service operator and as an affiliate of other Apex ROS operators, as an initial access broker, and as a customer of other IABs selling access to compromised corporate networks. So for those of you wondering what RAS is, ransomware as a service, basically these individuals sell their services, their toolkit, to actual criminals out there. So for instance, if you wanted to use, or if you wanted to, initiate a ransomware attack against somebody, you could either do it yourself or you could pay these experts to do it for you. They would do it for you, and so on and so forth. They're basically like digital arms companies in the black market of the internet, okay? You go to them when you want something bad done. And that's just how Mafia works. To take a little bit of a cut off the top. Now, to understand, this is a pretty serious hack. In the last few days, it appears the government has put out a $10 million reward for any information regarding Clop, so to speak. Now, of course, to understand, I want to show you what exactly this organization is showcasing on their own website. Now, for those of you wondering why I mentioned Shell earlier, they're actually another victim that refused to pay the ransom. See, the way that these attacks work is once a cybercrime group hacks you, they steal your information. If you don't pay the ransom amount to them, they're just going to publicize this information out there. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I went to the dark web. Now, I'm not going to show you the link to any of this because I'm not here to basically give this information out or lead you down a path to figure it for yourself. There's a lot of publications that have covered it. Finding this information necessarily isn't difficult for me because I've been a dark web browser for a long time, as you've known. According to the information that they revealed, yeah, some of this is in fact leaked information from Shell. And of course, they've released this in an entire list of multiple other breaches that they've done. Datasite.com, Putnam.com, Leggett.com, UGA.edu. Nothing is safe from these individuals. So for instance, right here, we got a lot of emails about government data. We don't have any government data, and anything directly residing on exposed and BAT protected, not encrypted file transfer, we still do the polite thing and delete all media speaking about this. Yeah, you can imagine English isn't their first word. This is probably written by ChatGPT-meth. But of course, if you look down here, dear companies, Clop is one of the top organizations offering penetration testing services after the fact. This is an announcement to educate companies who use Progress MoveIt product that chance is that we download a lot of your data as part of exceptional exploit. We are the only one who performs such attack, and relax because your data is safe. We are to proceed as follow, and you should pay attention to avoid extraordinary measures to impact your company. So of course, they've got a multi-step process over here. Step 1, if you had MoveIt software, continue to step 2. And of course, MoveIt is what we're going to be getting into. But to show you what is over here, obviously Shell didn't want to negotiate, so they posted their data. Bissell.com, 50 terabyte of company data, get ready for something interesting. Emeraldx.com, 100 terabytes of company data, get ready for something interesting. And of course, some of the files get published, some individuals will pay, and their information won't get released. That's how these criminal ransomware gangs work. You pay the ransom, your information doesn't get revealed to the public. That doesn't stop these criminal scumbags from sharing it back to other organizations, but you get the idea. But don't worry, they have some soul inside them. Attention, we have never attacked hospitals, orphanages, nursing homes, charitable foundations, and we will not. Commercial pharmaceutical organizations are not eligible for this list. They are the only ones who benefit from the current pandemic. If an attack mistakenly occurs on one of the foregoing organizations, we will provide the decryptor for free. So if somebody uses their software against like a children's hospital, they'll just decrypt it for free. Again, there is some level of morality and ethics even within criminal organizations like this. That's not to say these are good people, they're still criminals. So again, that's just their leak website that was discussing this information. So again, this information is unfortunately flowing around freely for a lot of interested parties that want to look at this leaked information, as sad as it is. So you might be wondering, how does one organization, one sneaky group like this, absolutely get away with a hack this massive? So to understand, there's been some accusations thrown around. For instance, some would say that this might be the Russians behind this, and there is no complete evidence, obviously. There is no proof to that statement. It could easily be the Chinese, the North Koreans. Hell, it could even be an American agency too. You never really know who's really behind these situations, especially with the lack of information we have so far. But what's more interesting is how they actually attacked this. So according to the government, what they were using was a software known as MoveIt. Now, MoveIt, for a lot of you wondering what it is, it's basically managed file transfer software. MoveIt is the leading managed file transfer, MFT, used by thousands of organizations around the world to provide complete visibility and control over file transfer activities. You might be like, but Muda, wouldn't it be easier if they just didn't use software from third parties and just did something basic themselves? Yeah, that sounds, in a perfect world, obviously you would love to have all of your solutions in-house. In reality land, obviously if you want to do something like this, it's actually a lot easier to pay a professional enterprise-grade company for a subscription service and just deploy this yourself. The problem with doing this is in certain cases, we've seen this with SolarWinds, other software, sometimes there is a vulnerability, in this case a 0-day that was used for quite a long time to exploit actual big players. See, the thing is, if 9,000 big companies buy this software and the exploit is floating around, well, hackers can hack all of those 9,000 companies without anybody really being the wiser on what's going on in their chain. Until, of course, 0-day hits, until somebody realizes, but at that point, the damage is already done, as we've seen in this case. So the Federal Bureau are releasing this to basically identify, investigations in June 2023, so right now. According to open source information, beginning on May 27, 2023, Clop ransomware gang, also known as TA505, began exploiting a previously known SQL injection vulnerability in Progress Software's managed file transfer solution known as MoveIt Transfer, so what we just seen. Internet-facing MoveIt Transfer web applications, so again, something that you could open up in your web browser, from what I understand, they were infected with a web shell. Appearing in February 2019 and evolving into CryptoMix ransomware variant, Clop was leveraged as a ROS, ransomware as a service, in large-scale spear phishing campaigns. Spear phishing, for those of you who don't know, is basically the ability for these organizations to send out mass emailers all around a company, basically phishing and hoping that somebody in that entire transfer chain clicks on a scam email, clicks on a scam document, and it serves as an intrusion point for them. So again, Clop was previously known for its use of double extortion tactic of stealing and encrypting victim data, refusing to restore the victim access, and publishing exfiltrated data on Tor via the Clop Leaks website, what I just showed you. In 2019, TA505 actors leveraged Clop ransomware as the final payload of a phishing campaign involved in macro-enabled document, so a macro-enabled virus that we've seen plenty of times on this channel, where, once you open up a document, an Excel spreadsheet, and it contains macros, scripts, some of those scripts can be used to launch nefarious programs that exfiltrate your data from your computer to a command server somewhere out in the open world. So again, ladies and gentlemen, to look further down into it, this is the ransom note that a lot of these companies got. So at some point, somebody woke up and was given this information. Hello, this is the Clop hacker group. As you may know, we recently carried out a hack, which was reported in the news site, on site Redacted. We want to inform you that we have stolen important information from your Go Anywhere MFT resource and have attached a full list of files as evidence. We deliberately did not disclose your organization and wanted to negotiate with you and your leadership first. If you ignore us, we'll sell your information on the black market and publish it in our blog, which receives 30 to 50,000 unique visitors per day. You can read about us on Redacted by searching for Clop Hacker Group. You can contact us using the following contact information. So yeah, this is something somebody woke up to, and when they realized and they looked at the file manifest, they were like, oh shit, we're fucked. I shouldn't be laughing. There are millions of users who've had their personal information unfortunately leaked out because of this. Information that is very easily downloadable because ransomware groups weren't paid and they just released data out there. Again, one of the problems also lies in companies not taking your security seriously. See, when it comes to security, you can only do so much if the companies you rely on to host and store your data aren't putting in, the bare bones of effort. Then you can only do so much, right? So again, the toolkit that they had, Clop, contained several malware types. So for instance, they had Flawed Amy, Flawed Grace, which was a remote access Trojan, which collects information and attempts to communicate with a command and control server. Then, of course, they had SD-Bot, which is another remote access Trojan, which propagates the infection, basically spreads it even further, exploits more vulnerabilities, and drops copies of itself through removable drives and network share. And then, of course, you've got TrueBot, which is a stage downloader module that collects your system information, some screenshots, and whatnot. Some of them you may recognize, like Cobalt Strike, which is used for both good and bad. which is used to expand network access after gaining access to an Active Directory server. So again, what was the actual, vulnerability? The 0-day was the MoveIt transfer vulnerability. So basically, MoveIt is typically used to manage an organization's file transfer protocols and has a web application that supports MySQL, Microsoft SQL, and Azure SQL. So the web shell was initially observed with the name human2.aspx in an effort to masquerade as the legitimate file human.aspx. So upon installation, the web shell creates a random 36-character password to be used for authentication. The web shell interacts with its operators by awaiting HTTP requests containing a header field named xclock_comment, which must have a value assigned equal to the password established upon the installation of the web shell. So once they authenticated with the web shell, operators pass the command to the web shell that can retrieve Microsoft Azure system settings and enumerate the underlying SQL database, store a string sent by the operator, and then retrieve a file with the name matching the string from the MoveIt transfer system. And while there are some actual detection methods that, people have finally identified now, unfortunately, it is just too late. All that can really happen at this point is companies realize that if they're using MoveIt to absolutely be on guard, be in red alert, check their networks, check if they've been infected by, or check if they've been, at all hit by this organization, which they probably most likely have. Anyways, once they grabbed this, they actually found some exploitable emails, for instance. So obviously you've seen the emails that they had communicating, so RSV box and whatnot. They had malicious domains like girostrolgood.com, and then of course connectzoomdownload.com. Yeah, you can see elements of spear phishing right over here. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, they also had various IP addresses that were all logged, all cataloged by the government, and it is what it is. Again, it's too late now that this has happened and all this information has been sent out. All you can really do is plug up the holes after the ship has already leaked. But to understand what they were doing, effectively they exploited that MoveIt application with a 0-day vulnerability that, again, like last time we looked into what a 0-day was, if you don't know that you've been infected and people are taking advantage of a vulnerability, again, who knows if they've been taking advantage for weeks, for months, for years. In this case, it looked like a very long time. And then, of course, spear phishing. So as we saw earlier with that Zoom URL and emails that they sent out, they were literally trying to get people who weren't tech savvy to click on something by mistake and effectively launch a payload that would just send every cybersecurity agent cringing at the thought of what just happened. Now, of course, for a lot of companies out there wondering if they should pay or not, the FBI and CISA do not encourage paying ransom, as payment does not guarantee victim files will be recovered. Absolutely not. You can't trust criminals, okay? There's no honor amongst thieves. Furthermore, payment may also embolden adversaries who target additional organizations. That is true. If you end up actually paying the ransom, which unfortunately a lot of people do, it's what causes this to keep happening. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is probably one of the largest global cyber attacks that have happened in quite a long time. And I know that I keep saying the biggest hack keeps happening, but the reason that I have to title the videos like that is because it's actually true. Every other month, it seems like it gets bad. And in this case, this kind of a hack is pretty unprecedented. And obviously, you've got plenty of organizations freaking out right now and wondering, what are we going to do? You got a lot of individuals, who have their information stored through plenty of these firms who are wondering, what happened to my information? The reality is, if you're somebody like me who's sitting inside and a company that you work with gets hacked, your information's out there and there's nothing that you can do. For an organization that has been hacked, there are avenues. You can work with law enforcement, you can choose not to pay ransoms, and you can choose to not panic and follow their carefully crafted solutions and mitigate as much as you can. At the end of the day, once you've been hacked, the only word you can hear is mitigations. That's it. Other than that, you have been fucked. And trying to unfuck yourself is now the next puzzle. Now, if you use MoveIt, for instance, you're probably already receiving a patch, which you should apply immediately, and also disable all HTTP and HTTPS traffic to your MoveIt transfer environment. For now, because you don't know how bad things have gotten. This may not even be the only vulnerability that they have access to. What's scary about this is obviously some websites have been reporting that Clop pulled off its latest breach, and some of the actual agencies beyond just the US Department of Energy, you got Oak Ridge Associated Universities, which manage a contract with several of the department's national laboratories and the National Nuclear Security Administration, the agency arm that maintains the US nuclear stockpile, received the request but didn't respond. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe that, the US National Nuclear Security Administration has been hacked. Even if so, a lot of those actual nuclear weapons or anything of serious danger is most definitely not connected to the internet. In fact, from what I understand, you pretty much have to be locally present for any of that stuff to happen. It would be a seriously, seriously scary situation if such weapons of mass destruction were even connected to the internet whatsoever. The government does not take a chance, nor should they when it comes to it. Now, with the list that's growing this hard, I think the only question to ask is how long is it going to be before these guys get raided and destroyed? If you look in what's happening with Poland right now, this is the CBZC, which is a Central Bureau for Combating Cybercrime. The amount of nerdiness you're about to see for just a few people that were literally associated with DDoS services, yeah, this is them getting raided. I'm not even joking. The Polish group has you got the ACES do not disturb. Get out of here, dude. Yeah, this is, they got anonymous masks and everything. Man, I can tell you right now, surviving a prison right now is just not gonna happen in their case. But of course, if the Polish community, if Polish cops are acting like this in regards to a bunch of DDoSers, ladies and gentlemen, ain't no knife in the world gonna stop the United States government from knocking down your doorstep and putting 2 in the chest and 1 in the head. Do I believe the US government is gonna make an example out of these people? Absolutely. And I don't think it's just the US government, I think it's most governments around the world. If it's one thing that's kind of a little surprising here is I haven't really seen a Russian organization get hacked through this, nor have I seen a Chinese company get hacked to it. Usually when it's only targeting the Western world like this, it's probably the case of a nation-state hack. So again, it's time to see if this was actually a group of real hardcore criminals or if it might have just been a nation-state hacking group, all right? I know there's a lot of allegations to be thrown around, but I think the next steps is seeing the law enforcement response, and honestly, the hack has already happened. For all the information that's floating out there, it's sad to say, but if you have interacted with any of these organizations, all I can tell you right now is start changing your passwords, start making sure your security is up to date. Do not rely on the goodwill of any of these organizations. They don't give a shit about you. You have to start giving a shit about yourself. But ladies and gentlemen, this was a massive global cyber attack, and I wanted to make sure I got all the facts straight. So ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.